Hi everybody, this is Cheryl Richardson and I'm here for our weekly Facebook Live coaching session. So I'm looking forward to talking with you and supporting you. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a coach. I've been coaching for about 20 years and I've written several books about improving the quality of your life, take time for your life, life makeovers, stand up for your life, also improving, building confidence and self-esteem, which is what Stand Up for Your Life is about. The Unmistakable Touch of Grace, which is honoring your spiritual well-being. The Art of Extreme Self-Care, which was something I needed a refresher course on while going through a stressful period in my life. So that book was written. And then also a book with Louise Hay called You Can Create an Exceptional Life. So I've done a lot of work with people over the years, traveling, speaking all over the world. And I show up here every week to support you in any way I can and to answer any questions you might have. So I'll wait a couple of minutes. Hi, Sarah and Beacom and Teresa. Hi, Teresa and Sarah. Yes, I see you. And Karen, Andrea. Welcome, everybody. So glad to have you here with me. And I'm in a different spot this time in the house. I'm in the library, and I'm hoping that the tops of the windows aren't covered, so there's light coming in, and I'm hoping as the sun moves around, it doesn't sort of wipe me out. But anyway, hi Suzanne and Joel. Hi Joel, I love you too. Hi Pam and Fernanda. We always have people, Greta, from all over the world, which is really exciting. It's wonderful to be able to communicate with all of you, to talk to all of you. And it's also really terrific. We have a very, very loving and supportive community here. So every time I go back after the Facebook Lives and read through some of the comments, it's wonderful to see how people support one another and provide resources and, connect with one another to continue the work long after the Facebook Lives are gone. I really appreciate that you all do that. That's really what this is about. Hey, Mark, welcome. And Casey and Betty Lou, welcome. So I thought I would start today. First of all, you know what I want to do? I want to show you something. So let me just say this. So for those of you who are, if you're joining after 3 o'clock Eastern, 3 to 4 Eastern, then I'm not live, I'm recorded, but I'm so glad you're here. And I do go back and read comments. So it's like you're participating with me, even though we're not here at the exact same time live. And the first thing I want to do is I want to show you something really gorgeous. Let me see if I can take it out of the little bottle I have it in. Look at this rose. Can you see that? Isn't that gorgeous? I love it. I stopped by, we have a local florist shop called Jan Lowry Florist, L-O-R-R-E-Y, Jan Lowry. And she has an incredible eye for beauty, and she gets some of the most gorgeous flowers, and she likes to buy locally grown flowers from small farms. And anyway, she had this in the case, and I picked it up and I thought, and it just smells so good. Here, you want to smell it? It really smells so fragrant, and I just love buying individual flowers and putting them in little glass jars. Sometimes if I go into an antique shop or if I'm walking near a flea market or a secondhand shop, I always look to see if they have any little bottles, and I like to just put individual flowers in them and kind of keep them all around. They provide inspiration for me. As a matter of fact, last week, Michael and I went to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston to see the Botticelli exhibit and Matisse. And I may have mentioned that. I don't know if I mentioned that last week. I don't know. We hadn't gone yet. So we went to see those exhibits. And I went in to see the Matisse exhibit. I'm not a huge fan of Henri Matisse. His art doesn't really speak to me like Botticelli's does. I love the artists of the Renaissance period. But when I walked into the museum, to the exhibit for Matisse, there was this giant photograph up on the wall of Matisse in his studio. And there was a window to the side of him with what looked like, I thought it was a stained glass window at first, but it was actually what they call a window screen, a window screen. It was made out of fabric and it had holes cut out in it, so it looked very much like stained glass from a distance. And he he had bottles everywhere, and he had cages, and he had flowers, and the whole exhibit talked about how Matisse was really inspired by the objects that he collected, many of which were little bottles, and that he thought of these objects as living beings that really inspired his art and inspired him. You know, you'll see, if you look at Matisse's work, you'll see paintings of bottles and sketches of different kinds of teapots and things like that. And so looking at his, you know, this light-filled studio, him standing there with a hat on, I think he might have even had a cigar in his mouth, and but just looking at all of the little objects gave me a whole different appreciation for my love of little glass bottles and my desire to put flowers in them and to keep them all over, like the kitchen counters or in my office in different places. I realized these are little objects of beauty that inspire me and make me feel, make me want to create art. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that to you because there may be little things that you keep around you that you just don't realize are inspiring you in ways that you might not be conscious of. I loved the exhibit, and I loved when I found out that Matisse would do things like that. It was, I don't know, it just was, I love learning about artists and their creative process. I love seeing where they work. And I just found it inspiring. Okay, I'm repeating myself, so I'll stop. I'm going to, I want to start today's Q&A session. Come in, Mr. Poupon. Come on. I shut the door in the library, and I have a cat. Some of you may have seen the videos who likes to open doors. So if you hear any banging, that's what you're hearing is my cat trying to come in. And he'll get in. He'll get in any minute now. And, Poopy, shh, I'm working. Okay, I want to start today's Q&A before I start taking your questions with Julie's question. She posted on Facebook at the notice, for the post where I put up a notice for today's Facebook Live. So I thought I would answer your question, Julie, because I think you might be in school. Julie says, "Hi, Cheryl. I'm grateful for these weekly sessions. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm a professor." Okay, everybody, hold on. Let me let Mr. Poupon in because he's going to be annoying if I don't let him in. All right, Boo, come on. Come on. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Yeah, he's going to come in for 2 minutes and then leave. Okay. So Julie says, I'm a professor at a university, coach teacher candidates pursuing my second doctorate. God bless you, Julie. Have 2 teenage boys and an extremely loving and supportive husband. We have and continue to do the work and are committed to our marriage, family, and our self-care. A colleague and I were talking the other day about the level of self-care needed to complete a doctorate while working full-time, pursuing other creative interests and raising 2 teenagers. I practice yoga on and off the mat, walk daily, eat clean, find joy in cooking, let go of what doesn't serve me, set boundaries, write in a gratitude journal, and take time in nature. Julie. I try to live by the 4 agreements. However, as deadlines approach, I feel very anxious, stressed, a tightening in my chest. I use essential oils that seem to help, but are there any other suggestions? I am taking 1 course instead of 2 this summer. Thank God, Julie. And so I can give myself more breathing room, but I am balancing this accelerated course out with 2 weeks in Maine for R&R. So I wanted to start off with this because Julie gives me an opportunity to say something important to all of you. And that is, given the pace of life today, given the increased speed in technology, given the numerous ways that people can get at us, text, email, snail mail, some people still use that, snail mail, the telephone, social media, right? Just even going through comments and posts and things like that. Given the fact that we are constantly seduced, constantly told that we need to do more, be more, and I think social media really impacts this as well. just reading through people's feeds or going, if you're on Instagram, for example, I'm on Instagram at Coach on Call is my username for Instagram and Twitter. Just going through my feed there, it seems like everybody's up to something. Like people are always going 100 miles an hour. That's what it seems like to me. And it's really important to remember that a high quality life has a lot more to do with what you remove from your life than what you add to it. Let me say that again. This was probably one of the most important pieces of wisdom I learned after writing Take Time for Your Life. Hey, buddy, you want to come here? Look at this, everybody. I can't believe this. Hi, come here. Yes. Can you say hi to people? Okay, this is so unusual. He never joins us. Can you say hi? What is it? Anyway, so the piece of wisdom that I really learned from Take Time for Your Life was a high quality life has a lot more to do with what you remove from your life than what you add to it. Can you say hi, Boo-Boo? Oh, thank you for the kisses. So, Julie, okay, and there he goes. So, Julie, you sound like a really smart woman. Obviously, you're going for your second doctorate. You sound like you're very accomplished and a high achiever. Just doing things, just trying to get your doctorate is a huge deal. Okay, that's a huge deal in and of itself. Just doing that alone, without raising children, without working. I've coached people through getting their doctorates. It's a big deal. Hoopy, get down. No? Jeez. Honest to God. It's like having a 2-year-old. Sorry. So, and look at his little tail. Poop. Sorry, everybody. Most of the time I can't even get him to show up. Now I can't get him to leave. So Julie, it sounds like you've got a lot going on. And what I learned, when I say a high quality life has a lot more to do with what you remove from your life than what you add to it, what I mean is this. Many of us, most of us, I've found this to be true with the people that, the thousands of people I've worked with over the years. I say this a lot on Facebook Live. Most of us need to remove things from our lives, not add anything more to it. So it sounds to me, Julie, like not only are you ambitious and high achieving when it comes to your education and your work and being a parent, a good parent and being a good wife, but also your own personal growth. And at some point, Julie, something's got to give. You need to be able to, we can get away with this. Very often we get away with this fast-paced living till we get to like late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s for some people. And I think that age is creeping up as the population ages and lives longer. But at some point, we really start to fry the adrenal system. You run the risk of that. It doesn't always happen, but you run the risk of it. I think it's great that you're doing one course, Julie. I think, it's okay. First of all, you need to ask yourself, why are you doing all this? Why are you doing all of this? What's your second doctorate for? Do you know what it's for? Do you have a very clear reason, a clear plan in place? I'm curious about that. You can take that slow because you can't get the relationship with your children back, ever. And you can't make up for the time that you could spend with your husband now, ever. You can't buy that in the future. No degree's ever going to give you that back. So your own self-care comes first, and everything you do, you model for your children. Believe me when I tell you, people, for those of you with children, I cannot tell you how many parents will say to me, oh, no, they understand why I'm doing this, or they don't see that I'm stressed out, or they don't see us fighting or whatever. They see everything because life is energy and we pick up energy. And Poupon, get down. Get down right now. Hang on, everybody. He's about to knock over a big glass vase. Get down right now. Come on. Get. Okay. You have to get out of here if you're going to be a little pain. So, Julie, and everybody, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed out, you got to really look at what you have on your plate, and you have to ask yourself, You know, especially if you've got children, energetically, they know what's going on. They're paying attention. Life is energy. We pick up energy long before words are even spoken. So you being stressed, when you get to the point where you're having chest pains, you know, when you say here, feeling anxious and stressed, yeah, you have a lot on your plate, Julie. And if I were coaching you, I'd be looking at, you mentioned something about pursuing other creative interests. I'd put them on hold, or I'd put school on hold. Like, you only have so much attention and attention to give to yourself, to your husband, which is the next priority, to your children, which is the priority after that. And sometimes I honestly, people, and I think about this in my own life too, sometimes the most courageous thing we do is to sit with wanting to do things when it's actually not the best time to do them. The most courageous thing we can do is take things off of our plate when we just feel like we can't be present for life. Because, you know, I mean, I don't have to tell you, this beautiful existence of yours could just end at any moment. And I'm always asking myself, if I died tonight, would I be happy with how I spent today? At the end of the week, if I died today, would I be happy with how I've spent the last week? I mean, I use those questions a lot to kind of get an objective perspective about what I'm doing and whether or not I'm happy with what I'm doing. So anyway, Julie, like I said, if I were coaching you, I'd say you've got way too much on your plate. A doctorate alone is hard for a single person. And I hope you're taking a really good multivitamin. I would encourage you to even see a naturopath to make sure that you're supporting your adrenal system and your immune system during this time. And make sure, I mean, the other thing we have a tendency to do is to say, okay, well, I'm just going to suck it up and get through this. And then once I'm through this, then I'm going to relax. It's sort of like oh, yeah, I'm working like a crazy woman, but I'm taking a vacation. And once I take the vacation, everything will be okay. You know what, people? We got to learn to live in the present moment now, today, while we're living our lives. Not, you know, at the end of a vacation, or living like crazy and then taking time off, and working like crazy and taking more time off. You want to be present for your life now. Now. All right, Julie, I hope that's helpful. And I hope that you really hear me saying that to you from a place of love and concern, because you deserve to rest and enjoy your life. And honestly, whenever somebody says to me, well, I read this book and I do, you know, I write in a gratitude journal, and but where their personal growth starts to sound like a to-do list as well. Really, what I often have them do is like, be lazy, practice being lazy, take some time off, goof off. Don't write in your gratitude journal for a week. Let yourself get some extra sleep. Like, we just want, oh, there you are, Julie. Hi. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're here. And yes, I'm glad my words mean a lot to you, because you deserve to have your life. You know, your professors, and remember this as a professor too, your teachers aren't going to be in your deathbed going, hey, Julie, listen, before you go, thanks so much for like busting your ass and getting that doctorate and like passing in all your papers and getting all your homework done. And, you know, at the expense of your family. Listen, we're rah, girl. We're so happy you did that. Thank you. It's never going to happen, Julie. Never going to happen. And you know, when Debbie Ford was dying, when I was sitting at her deathbed, literally she died, I think a day later or 2 days later, she said to me, Cheryl, please God, take more vacations. Just stop doing so much. It's not worth it. Trust me, I'm telling you, where I am right now, you know, it's just not worth it. So anyway, there you go, Julie. Mwah. I say that to you with so much love. I really do. All right, let's go back. And yeah, I love Debbie Ford too. I miss her so much. I've really been missing her a lot lately. And I have some exciting news. There's a new book coming out next year. There was a book that Debbie had written that nobody knew about that is going to be published next year. That's my little teaser. I'll tell you more about it as we continue. All right, so let's see. Here we go into your questions. Yeah, Claire says 28 was burnout year for me. Thank goodness I learned early how far I could push myself. Yeah, 28's early, and thank God you did learn early. Hi, Poopy. Okay. Hi, Linda. Yeah, I know. I'm so used to being distracted by him. Okay. Yeah. Take time to smell the roses, right? Why do you think that saying has stayed with us? Because we all need to remember it all the time. Yeah, and Joel says meditation removes you from the responsibility of the universe. Amen, brother. Amen. It's one of the best things you can do. 10 minutes of, just start with 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes of silence a day will make a big difference. So Christy says, hi, Cheryl. I'm struggling with an old belief that I'm not sure how to change. I'm divorced and recently back starting to date. My old belief is that I don't feel whole unless I have a partner in my life. I know it's not accurate, but still feel that way. Okay. Well, Christy, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way, sweetheart. And you know what? It could be true. Not that you're not whole without a partner, but there are some people who are really meant to be in relationship. Like, I never thought I was that person. I was pretty independent, and I spent over a year living alone after being in relationships and being afraid of being alone. I spent over a year living alone, really confronting the part of me that felt like I always needed to be in a relationship. Then when I met my husband, Michael, and we got married, I remember saying to him, wow, I never realized I was the marrying type, that I was really meant to be in a relationship with somebody. And I'm happy in a relationship with somebody. It's not always easy, and I'm not always happy. There are times where I dream about that single life, and I'm sure, and Michael does too. But there are some of us who really do feel that life is more satisfying and meaningful in partnership with someone else. So I say that, Christy, so that you don't judge yourself and that you honor the part of you that may really need that and want that in your life. That said, I don't know how long you've been divorced, and you said you've started dating. I think it's really important that we give ourselves a good amount of time to be out of a relationship when we're healing from one. And I think that can prepare us really well for a healthy next relationship. I would recommend doing some things, Christy, like going to some events by yourself, particularly the ones where you feel anxious about doing so. Number one. Number two, I would often go out to dinner by myself to a very nice restaurant. And in the beginning, it felt so uncomfortable, but I made myself do it. I thought of it as taking myself out on a date. And I would do so with the consciousness of being as present as I could be for myself. Like, sitting in the restaurant, what do I really want to drink? You know, what does my body feel like eating? What is anxious making about being here? Being warm and friendly to the waiter or the waitress, and going to the movies by myself, going to a museum. I used to go to the Wang Theater in Boston. It's so awesome when you're a single person and you want to go see a show last minute. There's almost always single seats available. And I would go to the ballet by myself. And it really taught me how to be single. So, and then the other thing I would say to you, Christy, is something a therapist said to me many, many years ago that was incredibly wise. She said, Cheryl, the only way you'll learn how to be whole in a relationship is by being in a relationship. She said, you know, even the relationships that don't work out in the long term teach us a lot about what's important to us, and teach us a lot about how we respond in relationships and what needs to heal. So I think it's also important to recognize, I mean, it would be interesting. So first of all, let me just say, even though I have a belief that I'm not whole unless I have a partner, I love and accept myself. It's a tapping sequence, right? Karate chop. Even though I feel like I need a partner in order to be whole, even though I feel like I need a partner in my life in order to be good enough or to be acceptable, whatever it is, even though I feel this way, I love and accept myself. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And I think, you know, accepting that, Christy, is really important, including that belief as you go out. You know, you can say, oh, there's that belief again. There's that belief that I somehow need a partner in order to be whole. A silly little belief. I'm going to take you with me as we go out on a date by ourselves, or when we go to the theater, or we go to a restaurant, or we go for a walk in nature, whatever it might be. The fact that you're aware of it and that you'll be on the lookout for it means it's probably not going to, it'll have less of a chance of getting in the way. That's what I want to say. Okay? All right. Thanks, Leslie. Yes, independent cats. And he does put his self-care first, Amy. My goodness. Okay, let's see. What else? Yes, Stephanie, more time outside, so important. Eugenio Guzzardi, I wonder if you're related to Peter. Are you? Let's see. Yeah, Julie, you can take that as a sign. Okay, here we go. Okay. Krasimira, I hope I'm saying that right. I wonder where you're from. Tell me what country you're from. Krasimira. I attended school pursuing PhD in counseling psychology. I have 37 doctoral credits thus far. I took 5 years off and now I'm thinking about going back. I'm 42 years old and I'm afraid it would be too late and too long by the time I graduate to practice psychology. Any advice and encouragement? Oh my goodness, yes. Okay, first of all, I think you'd be really, really surprised, Krasimira. I think you'd be surprised at how many older students there are in school again. Number one. Number two, one of my oldest, dearest friends, I've known her for 35 years, went to school for the first time ever at 60 years old, and for counseling, to be a licensed social worker here in the States. And she now has a full practice. She helps hundreds of people. It's probably 12 years ago. She started her practice at 65. Poopy? No. Hey, come here. No, come here. Oh, it's okay. It's okay, sweet boy. She started her practice, right after getting out of school, and it's incredibly, she's been incredibly successful with it. So to me, going back to school is all about, what are you excited about studying? What are you going to do with it? Like, is there a reason? You might just want to go to school. I could see myself doing something like that, just studying something for the sake of studying it because I was passionate about it. But if you know you'd like to provide a practice, here's the great thing about being older. You've got so much more life experience under your belt. And as a result, you're going to be incredibly helpful to people. I have no doubt. Incredibly helpful. So, there we go. It just paused, and I hope we continue. Krasimira, so I hope that you will really seriously consider going back to school. I think that would be great. Yeah, so Facebook just paused this, said I had a problem with the signal, so I'm hoping it continues. Let's see. Okay. Yes. Dee Dee says, I've lost my job and it's totally the opposite from Julie's situation. I worked hard, but a car accident was a wake-up call to be in the moment, but I'm going through a lot of purging of all these old paradigms. So how do you deal with all this new change to find my true self again, my purpose of what is my career, etc.? Well, depending on when your car accident was, Dee Dee, the first thing you want to do is you want to really... you want to be sure that you take good care of yourself. And even if it means getting a job where you're, a low-stress job where you're able to just earn whatever money you need to earn while you're healing, that's totally fine. Healing is the first step, number one. Number two, sometimes when we have a wake-up call like that, and we realize we start to reevaluate our lives and we reevaluate what we're doing, sometimes it's also really helpful to just get a transition position, which is an in-between job that pays the bills while you set out on an exploration to determine who you are at this time in your life and what matters to you, what interests you. That that needs to take you need to take your time doing that, because if the car accident was a wake-up call, you might start by reading some self-help books, doing some exercises. You might start by going to therapy and working with a therapist who's going to help you to just kind of deconstruct the accident and what did it teach you, and what did it make you realize? What are the things that are important to you now that you that you didn't maybe realize were important before? So think of this as a whole new, you're getting a PhD in you, Dee Dee, and that doesn't happen overnight, right? We don't get a doctorate overnight. It happens over time. So even if it means getting a position that isn't too stressful, but that pays your bills while you engage in activities that help you to get to know yourself better, reading, workshops, classes, coaching, maybe therapy. I mean, these are all of the things that we do to get to know ourselves better. I'm sitting here in my library. I'm looking at all the books I've read. Like, I don't know how many books. I've probably read over, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. And I still read and I still learn and grow. And so give yourself time to do those things, Dee Dee. And don't worry about your purpose is to take what life brings to you and use it to grow and evolve and understand yourself better and to become a better human being, to become a more conscious spiritual being. That's our most important primary purpose here on the planet. That's what all of us need to be doing. And that's the greatest gift we give to humanity. And then you find work that you love, that's great. I love my work. I feel very fulfilled by my work, but my work isn't my purpose. My purpose is to always be raising my own level of consciousness, becoming a more conscious and loving human being, noticing where do I need to forgive more? Where do I need to love more? How do I need to love myself more? Where do I need to stop being a brat? Or whatever, but just growing and evolving in that way. To me, that's my primary purpose is really being as sort of enlightened and as awake as I can be, really. And that's an ever evolving process. So I wish you all the best with that, Dee Dee. And I hope that you're healing well, and that your body's okay. Okay, so let's see. Just looking at your questions and your comments at the same time. Hi, Greth from Denmark. Nice to see you here. And Hugo, welcome. Hi, Mom. My mom's here. Hi, Mom. She just left today. She's been here for the last couple of days. We had such a great time. I invited my mother to take a shower in our outdoor shower, which was the first time she's ever done that in the 80 years of her life, and she loved it. At least she told me she loved it. I believe her. I was so excited that she did it. I said, Mom, you've got to do this. It's the most amazing experience to take a shower with birds flying overhead and the sun shining on your body. It was so great. Okay, let's see. So Pamela says, I'm in a very unhealthy relationship at the moment. I'm trying to leave, but I get frozen in fear. I'm 60, my health is not good, and I could really use some help. Yeah, Pamela, sweetheart. So don't try to do this alone. If you get frozen in fear, that just tells me that you're not ready yet and that you need support. And ideally, the support from a therapist would be great. If I don't know where you are or what your financial situation is, if you go to psychology today, let me just make a note so I can put it in the resource section. Psychology Today has a Find a Therapist section that's really, really good. And you can look to see if there's a therapist near you and if they in particular work with women in relationships. I would look for somebody that's skilled with that. If that's not something you can afford at the time, then I would also consider things like, depending on whether there's alcohol or drugs involved, maybe attending Al-Anon meetings, which can be incredibly helpful, and they don't cost anything, and you can meet a lot of really supportive people there. It may be that part of the reason, I can pretty much assure you that part of the reason your health isn't good is because of the unhealthy relationship. You might be surprised, Pamela, at how your health improves when you get out of that environment, because our environment has a direct impact on our genetics and our immune system. I'm wondering if there's somebody safe that you trust that will be gentle with you as you explore leaving this relationship. Sometimes it can be very hard for a woman who's been in an unhealthy relationship. This is how I say this. This is important, Pamela, and I bet you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. When a woman or man is in an unhealthy relationship, every time they're in that environment, it's as if they've entered the space where there's a virus and their emotional immune system gets weakened. This is what happens a lot with women who are victims of domestic violence. People make judgments about, well, why didn't she just leave him, or why didn't she just leave her? But the reality is that when you're in an unhealthy relationship, this can be with anybody, by the way, could be with a family member, sibling, whatever, adult children, exactly. When we're in an unhealthy relationship or a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship, just being in that environment weakens our emotional immune system, which makes it very difficult to take steps to honor ourselves, because we don't have the courage, we don't have the emotional strength, we don't think like people who aren't in that environment. So Pamela, the tricky thing is you can leave and build up some immunity, but then the minute you're back in that environment again, you start to lose it. You catch the virus and you start to lose your power. This is why I recommend something like Al-Anon is like a boost to the immune system, and it starts building your power. Therapy can do that as well. If there's any kind of abuse going on, Pamela, I would look for a local women's crisis center just to meet with somebody. You don't have to go there. You know, any skilled crisis center knows exactly how to deal with women who are in unhealthy relationships. They know what it's like. They've worked with plenty of people in that population to know the kind of support that they need, and they're not going to force you to do anything that you're not ready to do, but they are going to point you to resources, and sometimes they'll point you to resources, free resources that you could take advantage of right now. So don't try to leave alone, sweetheart. Get support first. And I often say to women, and I would say this to men too, if you're in an abusive relationship, it's okay to find a therapist and don't tell your partner you're doing it. If you're going to Al-Anon, it's okay to go. Don't tell your partner you're doing it. You can just keep it confidential, keep it to yourself until you get strong enough to be ready to make a move. There's nothing wrong with that. That's called good self-care. That's called extreme self-care in very difficult circumstances. So, and Pamela, I'm going to add you to my prayer book. I always go through, and you know, when I look through the comments, sometimes afterwards when people ask me, when they post a comment saying, could you put me in your prayer book? I do that as well when I look through the comments. I try to catch as many of them as I can. But you are now in there, Pamela, in my prayer book right here. All right, sweetheart. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Please pray for my son to be successful in his recovery program to overcome his addiction to heroin. Yes, I will, Kimberly, I will do that. I'll put him in, Kimberly and her son, right in my book too. Okay. You definitely need to be in something like, Kimberly, you need to be in Nar-Anon or Al-Anon, something, you need to be getting support yourself, as I bet you probably are, but you want support for yourself so that you know how best to support him. Okay, let's see. Casey says, what book would you recommend to start being more in the moment and kind to ourselves? I mean, you know, I certainly would recommend The Art of Extreme Self-Care. You know what book I would recommend, Casey? I'm looking over at my bookshelf. I have one bookcase with like all of my favorite books that I tend to read over and over. There's one book called Slowing Down to the Speed of Life. Slowing Down to the Speed of Life. I can't tell you the author because it's over on the shelf. I want to say Joseph Bailey, but I'm not positive. It's a wonderful book, Casey, and that's the first one that comes to mind when you ask the question you do, because it's based on positive psychology, and it's a book that I used to read every single year. I just loved that book, Slowing Down to the Speed of Life. I'll put it in the resource sections after we finish today for sure. Let's see. Leslie says, I find as I've aged, and I've been single for the last decade, that I've gone from super social extrovert, always out and about, to being quite content home with my puppy, going out once in a while, love babysitting my granddaughters, but then sometimes I miss having a special someone to share life with. But then I start wondering if it's what I want, second guessing myself. Well, Leslie, one of the ways to find out is to start dating. Notice how you feel in your body when I say that. We have a tendency as human beings to think from A to Z. Like, oh, I want to write a book. It has to be a New York Times bestseller. Oh, I might want to enjoy the company of a partner. I'm going to be married. And then am I going to be able to share my home because I'm independent? You know what I mean? So you can just focus on step B, which is, if I were to date, if I were to open myself up to meet somebody, a companion, a friend, what might I be looking for? And just give yourself a chance to just think about that, to kind of dream about that, to fantasize about if I could have a partner, what would the ideal scenario be? Leslie, it might be that you want someone who's independent like you are, and who loves animals like you do, and who has his or her own home like you do, and just wants a great companion to do fun things with, but doesn't want to necessarily move in. Just give yourself a chance to think about it. No, actually, I don't want to say give yourself a chance to think about it, because my guess is, Leslie, you do too much thinking. Let yourself dream a little bit. Don't worry about making a decision. Give yourself permission. What that tells me is there's some part of you that actually would love a companion. And then there's another part that doesn't want to lose her independence. Both of those parts could dialogue with one another, and both of them need to be included. Let the part of you that is wondering about what it might be like to have a special someone have more space in your life, and more space in your head, and more space in your heart, so that you can just explore it and see what happens. And then trust life. Trust life to bring you the right kind of companion to check out, to play with, to have fun with. We're not talking, you don't have to get married, and you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Just don't shut off that part of you that clearly wants to explore this. Don't try and figure everything out ahead of time, I guess is what I want to say. Okay. Stephanie says, I walk around every day of my life ignoring my body. I'm overweight. My posture is awful. I feel so negative about myself. I emotionally eat all the time. I can't seem to change this rut and disconnection with myself. How would you advise I start to change? Oh, Stephanie. Well, first of all, sweetheart, if you were here, I would give you a big hug. I would sit you down right next to me, and I would just cradle you in my arms, and I would say to you, sweetheart, you need a lot of love. You deserve a lot of love. You're worthy of it, just the way you are right now. You're worthy of a lot of love and compassion. I would encourage you to definitely get some help. Whenever we're stuck in a rut, we can't pull ourselves out of a rut. Imagine being stuck in a well. How do you pull yourself out of a well when there's no rope? You can't do it, right? So you want support to be able to pull yourself out. And the tapping therapies can be very helpful in just raising your energy so that you don't feel mired in the negativity, so that you can maybe have the energy you need to get up and reach out for some help. The first thing I would do, Stephanie, is I would buy Geneen Roth's book, Women, Food, and God. I'm going to write that down. Women, Food, and God. It's a really wonderful book for men and women in particular, who struggle with emotional eating. I think Geneen's work is really brilliant. And I would encourage you to pick up a copy of that book and read it, and make sure you have a pen so you can underline the places that really speak to you. I also would say, Stephanie, that if you send an email to chris@CherylRichardson.com, so that's CHRIS, chris@CherylRichardson.com, I am going to see Jessica Ortner tomorrow. Nick Ortner and Jessica Ortner, brother and sister. They both run the tappingsolution.com. They host the World Tapping Summit every year that I participate in. They're coming to my house tomorrow. We're going to hang out, and we're doing some videotaping for next year's summit. And Jessica has a wonderful program, tapping for weight loss and body confidence. And it's a great online program. And I'm going to ask Jess to give you that course for free, Stephanie. So I'll see her tomorrow. And if you send an email to chris@CherylRichardson.com, tell her that you were with me today on Facebook Live, and that I said I was going to get you a copy of Jess Ortner's course. Then she'll forward it to me. That will remind me, and I'll talk to Jess tomorrow, and we'll make that happen for you. So Jessica Ortner, I'll also put a link to the Tapping Solution, and her website, where you can find more information about the course for those of you that are interested. But Stephanie, for you, I'm going to give you that as a gift. I think that would be incredibly helpful in terms of, she'll get you started with the tapping. And then any kind of program that involves other people would be really great for you. For example, Susan Peirce Thompson, who does Bright Line Eating, has a very active community of people who go through her boot camp and her eating program that are very successful with weight loss. They have coaches that are available. Something like that. Susan Peirce Thompson, Bright Line Eating. That's a book that was published by Hay House. And I will put her resource down as well. Anything that you can do where you'll be part of a community, where you will be able to communicate with other people, I think would be enormously helpful. Please don't try to do this on your own, Stephanie. These are some great places to start, and we'll get you hooked up with Jess's program, and that'll be a great way to kind of kick things off for you. Okay. Let's see what else. What do we got here for time, people? 15 minutes, so we've got a little more time. All right, so I'm scrolling through. Hi, Tina, Teresa, Casey, you're very welcome, sweetheart. Oh, Sarah, thank you. Richard Carlson and Joseph Bailey. Yeah, those are the two. Great, Leslie. Good. Yeah, Casey. You know what? I'm going to one of the newsletters. Make sure that make sure that you're all subscribed. If you look up, I always say look up. There's a sign up button for my weekly newsletter. Casey, one of the newsletters I'm going to be sending out is a list of some of my all-time most important books. It's a blog that I did, I think, a couple of years ago that I updated, and I'm going to rerun it. So you'll see that. It'll be coming out. Make sure that you're subscribed at CherylRichardson.com, and you'll get that list that you're looking for. Okay. Yeah, Joseph Bailey. Love his work. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have here? Thank you, Carol. Oh, good, Marilyn. I'm glad Leslie's advice helped you too. Marilyn, maybe you and Leslie could connect with each other. Good morning, Brenton. Welcome from the other side of the world. Yes. Nice, lovely to see you here. Thank you. Yes, have you heard of dialectical behavior therapy, DBT? Yes, I have. I researched that many years ago when my husband Michael was sick. I hear fantastic things about it, especially for people who are really struggling. DBT therapy. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it's sort of aligned with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is about changing beliefs and thoughts and thought patterns and things like that. But I hear great things about it, P. Lynn. So that's what I would say. And let's see. Other questions? Okay. All right. Sorry, everybody. Just trying to go through. We have so many comments here. Bear with me. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and those of you who have asked questions here, make sure that when we're done, you go back through the comments, because there's people, this is what I mean, we have such a loving, supportive community. There are people here who are responding to some of your questions with, what they've been through, the resources that have helped them. And I think it's a really, really smart thing to go back and look at some of the comments that are being made, because you may find that there are people that you could connect with. I always want to say that you could hook up with, but today you can't say that because it means something different. So yeah, I just see you all are offering. Okay, Ina says, how do you explore what makes you happy work-wise when you're the only single breadwinner living in a foreign country, supporting parents and sister with her little son, working hard and draining yourself at the end of each working day? Well, Ina, you are such a perfect example of what I talked about at the very beginning of Facebook Live, when I said that a lot of times a high-quality life has a lot more to do with what we remove from our lives than what we add to it. And I'm just making a note. High quality, so I can remember a resource. Because Ina, I know that sometimes life can feel incredibly hard and challenging, and like we are a victim of circumstance, but the reality is we never are. It's important that we don't confuse tough choices with having no choice at all. In your situation, it sounds like you've taken on a lot in your life. You've taken on the support of your parents. You've made the decision to live in a foreign country, to be the single breadwinner, to support your sister and her children. Now, I don't know where you are, and I don't know what your situation is, so I need to be sensitive to that. Because I deal with people all over the world, and it may be that you're living in a place where you truly have no choice. You were put in a situation, but the fact that you're asking the question makes me wonder if you have more choice than you're aware of. I don't know for sure, but one of the things I would say is we do people a disservice when we don't allow them the dignity of taking responsibility for their lives. Let me say that again, Ina. We really support people when we invite them to take more and more responsibility for their lives. This is true with parents and adult children and teenage children. Years ago, I remember hearing somebody say, don't rob somebody of the dignity that they will acquire by taking good care of themselves. And so it might be that you need to have a conversation with your parents and your sister about contributing more. Again, I don't know how old you are. I don't know what country you're in. But chances are you're a very strong-minded kind of rock for everybody. And I would bet that people, a lot of times when we're like that, when we seem like we have it all together, and we're always doing everything for everybody else, it's hard for people to know that we even have needs because we don't allow ourselves to have them. So I guess the best thing I would say to you, Ina, is the first step would be to have an honest conversation with your parents and your sister about how tired you feel and how you'd like more of a life for yourself. and see if you can begin to open that dialogue. And again, without knowing where you are, I don't want to be offensive and say, you need to stop taking care of them. I mean, you could be in a place where, I don't know. I mean, you could be in any kind of a situation, but start by telling the truth, which is I'm really tired. I'm tired of bearing the brunt of responsibility in our lives and in our family. And I'd love for that to change. And I'm wondering if there's a way that that we could begin to work something out so that I could do that. That's where I would start, Ina. And I hope that that's helpful, sweetheart. Without knowing, like I said, where you are and what your situation is, it's very difficult for me to be respectful and mindful of the best kind of advice to give you. So Carrie says, I'm finally working for myself as an artist, writer, entrepreneur, but I'm having trouble letting go of the need for a day job. I'm fine financially. How can I just let go and enjoy what I'm doing without feeling guilty? Well, Carrie, the first thing I would say to you is, are you sure you're doing okay? And that you are now able, I wonder if there isn't a part of you that is actually concerned for a legitimate reason. For example, are you able to save money? I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your situation is, but are you able to save money consistently? Are you paying off debt, or are you living debt free? These are some of the questions I would want to know. Do you have a consistent source of income coming in? Have you had a good year or two under your belt as a self-employed person with consistent business coming in to really trust it? Do you need to meet with a financial planner? I often recommend Melissa Sweet. Some of you have heard me. It's a gal here in Massachusetts, a woman who is a great financial planner, but also understands the law of attraction and the way that our beliefs influence our financial health. And so it might be that you need to do a Skype session with her to look at your whole financial situation. I've done that before, Carrie, when my husband and I wanted to make a major purchase. I would sit down with her and go through our whole financial situation and then just say to her, I'm afraid that we can't afford it. Do you think we can? Because I tend to be more conservative financially, and I get scared. And I've learned a lot about enjoying the abundance that I've created in my life by having good, sound financial advice. So I will include Melissa Sweet's info for you. She works by phone and by Skype, like I said. Maybe you want to meet with her. I think, her fees are something like, they're income dependent, but I think the most you spend is like $150 an hour or something like that. And it would be worth every penny to make sure that you've got a good financial plan in place, Carrie. That's what I would recommend. I wouldn't just say, oh, let go and enjoy, without having more information and knowing that that was the right way to do it. And Heidi, thank you so much for explaining the DBT therapy, a specific type of cognitive behavioral psychotherapy developed in the 1980s by Marsha Linehan to help better treat borderline personality disorder. Since its development, it's also been used for treatment of other kinds. Yes, I've heard it to be very good for depression, anxiety as well. Okay. You can see the previous comments, Amy, once we finish up this Facebook Live, and it'll be posted. Once it gets posted up, you'll be able to see all the comments. Julie wants to know best resources to help family 21-year-old finding life's purpose direction. I would say if it's a girl, I would get a copy of Stand Up for Your Life. I think it's great. I don't know why I said for a girl. That's really kind of dumb. It's just that I have a lot of people in my community who buy it for their daughters that are just going into college or coming out of college, but it's great for both. I think that would be it's a good book. That book addresses how to build confidence and self-esteem, but also how to identify our values, the things that are deeply important to us, and how we're going to build a life that reflects our values, and how we begin to find work that reflects our values as well. So I think that book could be incredibly helpful, Julie. Okay, let's see. We've got just a few more minutes left. Okay, so Beryl says, I'm so unhappy with my life, I feel like dying every day. Okay, Beryl, that's a serious statement right there. I'm surrounded by so many people, I feel judged, insecure, and alone. What would you recommend? Beryl, when somebody says, I feel like dying every day, I always say that if somebody in any way, shape, or form implies that they think about suicide, I don't know if that's what you're saying, Beryl, but if it is, I would absolutely call a hotline, because that is not a coaching issue, that's a therapy issue, and it would be very important. I mean, everything that you're talking about here is a therapy issue, not a coaching issue, and I love you too. And Beryl, what I really want for you is to get the emotional support you need so that you feel alive and you feel hopeful about your life. I don't know the situation that you're in, but as I mentioned before, the Psychology Today website has a great Find a Therapist section. I would make that a top priority. I will put a suicide hotline number. I don't know if that's what you're saying, Beryl, but you really, really want to get help. And the part of you that showed up here today and was brave enough to post that comment is the part that wants to live a better life. And I want to support and empower and lift up and energize that part of you, Beryl, so that it continues to have a voice and a presence in your life and allows you to take the actions that that you can take to make things better. If you have a doctor that you really love, I would also recommend you could contact your doctor and ask for support. Let the doctor know that you need emotional support. And yeah, I see all the hearts going by. Let's just flood her with love, shall we? Let's just all imagine. Beryl, I'm going to put you in my prayer book, and we're all sending you lots of love, lots of support, and the belief that you have what it takes to get yourself the help that you need. Look at all those hearts coming through, Beryl. Those are people who care about you and want you to be happy. And it starts by getting support. And the part of you, like I said, that showed up here today and was brave enough to ask for it is the part that is going to allow you to get through this. And you will get through this. You will get through this, Beryl. Once we post this Facebook Live, I want you to look at the resources that I post. And I will have both the Psychology Today Find a Therapist and the Suicide Hotline, just in case that's what you're alluding to there. Okay? All right, everybody. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here with me. I appreciate it so much. And you can all, once again, if you want to always know when the Facebook Lives are going to happen, just go to the sign up button above and make sure that you subscribe to the weekly newsletter. This will be posted in just a few minutes, and then it'll take me a little time to put the resources up, but I'll add them on. And Beryl, look at all these people here. Yeah, thank you, Beryl. I'm so glad that you're receiving all this love. And yes, and Tina, I'm going to put, it's Melissa Sweet. The website is melissasweetmoney.com, and I will put her resource as well. She's a fantastic financial planner. I love her a lot. And she, everybody I refer to her, I've not heard anything negative about the people, from people I've referred to her. So anyway, all right, everybody. Thank you all once again for being here. And thanks, Carrie. Yeah, you want to re-listen. You do have a financial cushion, support from your spouse, no debt. I teach and do consulting. I guess my fear is the lack of a weekly paycheck since I've worked for someone else for 15 years. Okay, so you know what? Yeah, guess what, Carrie? The only way to get comfortable with doing something new is to do it. Do it. I would say, you know what? You're smart. You've got great skills. You've obviously got talent. You've got a husband who loves you. You don't have any debt. You've got support from him. I think, girl, it's time for you to know this. Here's how I'm going to end. Carrie, what used to be your ceiling is now your floor. You're not the same person you used to be. You are now an entrepreneur, fully, completely, successfully. You need to step in to the new You need your outer life to catch up with your inner life. And you need to step into this new role as a true and true successful entrepreneur by leaving your job. That's what I would say. I mean, listen, what's the worst case scenario? It doesn't work and you need to get a job at some point. Watch my Facebook Lives. You'll see me talking to people about that all the time. Now it's time for you, Carrie, to trust yourself. That's really what this is about. All right, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah. Lots of love to all of you, and I will be back next week. So make sure you get the newsletter so you know when. Okay? All right. Take care. Bye.